Welcome to Pursuing the Muse. I'm Tom Compton. This week, let me just say the thrill is not gone because today I'm thrilled to feature blues phenom DK Harrell on the show. At just 27, this award-winning guitarist and vocalist is recognized as a leading light of the younger generation of blues artists. His new Alligator Records debut album, Talkin Heavy, showcases his powerful, original songs and unique sound, cementing his place among leading voices in the blues. In our conversation, DK reveals how B.B. King literally taught him to talk when he was 2 years old, his commitment to writing modern, original blues lyrics that move beyond stereotypes, and his passion for delivering high-energy, authentic live shows that connect personally with audiences. Stay tuned.
I'm talking heavy. I don't know what to do. Oh, take a look around you. Your world is heavy with the blues. I swear that you're so fine, and your frame is nice and shake. Ooh, the way you move with every step just drive for me insane. Lord, I'm feeling for you, baby. I just want a little taste. Trumpets start to blaring, hallelujah. Every time you walk, every time, babe, every time you walk into the room.
Hello again, Tom Compton here. I am thrilled today to welcome DK Harrell to Pursuing the Muse. DK, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me, Mr. Compton.
You bet. Oh my gosh, you have a new record out this summer. It's called Talkin Heavy. It's your debut with Alligator Records. And I'll tell you what, I am loving this record from top to bottom.
Thank you. We did our best. I'll be honest with you, when we were recording some of the songs, I was a little nervous about how the blues community would react to it, because there are some songs that are kind of different.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I love about it, is there's all kinds of different styles of blues. I mean, you got your straight ahead driving up tempo blues. You slow it down here and there. There's even a little gospel at the end. The closing song is "Praise These Blues."
Yes,
and then in the mix though, man, you got some really cool stuff. Like there's almost like a 70s disco sound with like PTLD and Into the Room. Is that the kind of thing you were going for with those?
Well, yes. With Into the Room, the idea actually came from when I was watching a live performance of Bobby Blue Bland at the Chicago Blues Festival in like 1981 or 1983. And he did a song called Soul of a Man. And of course, it wasn't like his most popular song, if that makes sense, on the charts.
Mm-hmm.
But it was real funky, and it had a nice little groove to it. And I told Kid Anderson that I wanted to do a song similar to that. So we took the idea of Soul of a Man and Jackie DeShannon's Every Time You Walk in the Room, and we kind of merged them together and got Into the Room.
It is a fun song. It's got a great vibe, so love it. So you were talking, this album, you worked with producer Christopher Kid Anderson, right? How was that experience?
Well, Kid and I have known each other now for a few years. And working with him is always fun because it's always full of ideas. Sometimes we're in the songwriting process and some humorous things will happen. Like, for example, when I wrote the song Just a Little Taste, he was trying to not make it so sexual.
He's reeling you in, isn't he?
Yeah, he was trying not to make it so sexual, so he started like taking the idea of just a little taste and started making it about food. And like there was a moment where I was just like, kid, we don't need to sing about food. Because he does the food, but
We
but
all
that's
have
just
our
an
little
example.
kinks.
That's just an example of how, we can be, we can have fun with the process. It doesn't have to be a stressful process. And working with Kid, another thing about Kid that I really admire about him is that we kind of read each other's minds, when it comes to songwriting and what to hear musically and, having musical ideas. And again, I can't explain how fun it is when we did Praise These Blues and we were doing the praise break at the end, as we call it in the gospel saying. He kept it rolling. I was waiting for him to say like cut or something like that. So we have actually like quite a few outtakes of me like just saying nonsense at the end of praise break, which we will not release to public. But
An obscure B-side. Come on.
I'm sorry, but it's some stuff in it that's just like really crazy, and I mean it doesn't get like disrespectful. It's just really silly, and it shows the humorous side of the recording process. But you never know. Maybe down the line, I may be like, hey, let's just give the people a sneak peek of how things happen.
Right, like 50 years down the road, there's a box set of obscure stuff. Maybe it will see the light of day.
Yeah, it just might.
So, and you know what? One of the things that's really noticeable about Talkin Heavy is that these are all original songs. You're a lot of times in the blues, people are playing the classics like it's Stormy Monday or The Thrill Is Gone, but these are all new stuff. Is that something you were consciously trying to do?
Yes. When I've always lyrically been writing songs since I was 16. For example, the song "The Right Man" from the very first record that I did. That song was written when I was 16 years old, and I had my first quote unquote breakup. And it was very interesting, but with the songwriting process, I'm always striving to use original material at all times.
Nice. Yeah, and I will say, "The Right Man," for no one that's from a 16-year-old, that's got a lot of maturity.
Well, I didn't think so. I was just mad at her because I liked it at her. I liked it at her a lot. But it didn't work out, and I did tell her, I think last year or year before that. No, I think it was this year actually. This year we were talking, and we were catching up and everything, and she was like, did you ever wrote a song about a girl? I was like, actually, the song that I got, a BMA for, the record that I got a BMA for is about you. And like she started laughing.
Oh my gosh.
So she took it with a grain of salt. So it was great.
You're still friends then?
Sure.
As much as you can be, I guess,
if that person is to say hi to me, I'm going to say hi back. But we're not on bad terms.
Right. And that's probably all you can ask at this point. So it's all good. I want to go back to, you mentioned A Little Taste. And when I first gave this record a listen and that song kicked off the record, a couple chorus drums, the drum checks in, and then just a note that's just throttling, just explosive I was like, I thought Albert Collins had risen from the dead for a second, because it was that same kind of like explosive, grab you by the throat guitar. And I just love what you're doing on the guitar, DK.
Oh, thank you. That actually was the goal. I made it, like when I say this record was different, it wasn't only different, the music itself, but I played, I think around like 4 to 6 different guitars on this record. Because I wanted it to be different, and with Just a Little Taste, we wanted it to be funky, and I was like, hey, give me a Fender Telecaster and let's crank up the amp. And, and Kid has a great ear. So I was like, hey, what settings on a super reverb do you think that, Albert Collins would have used? And he told me, and so we dialed it in, and, he just let me go.
Yes, Albert, the master of the Telecaster.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, and there are various guitar tones on the record, because sometimes it's clean and sometimes it's thick, like a Gibson 355, and then it's just and it all evokes, for me. I was a teenager in the 80s, and and I was a guitar player. And I was pretty lucky that, guys like Albert Collins, Albert King, those guys were still around. And man, this record of yours brings me back to those days of I think the 60s, 70s, and 80s were just like a heyday for blues, and especially electric guitar blues. And this record is so refreshing, and it makes me feel young again, because I'm hearing Albert Collins, I'm hearing Albert King, and even vocally, a lot of times you remind me of Freddie King, really smooth and silky, but powerful. It's just, I really, really enjoy how this record brings back so much of what's great about the blues, and yet it's fresh and current. It's like a perfect mix.
Well, that's my goal. My music has always been the goal so far, to always have a sense of nostalgia with also, I guess I tell people it's an old school sound with fresh lyrics, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So the stories, are still relevant, but they're not the stereotypical, blues songs of "Woman Done Left Me," or "My woman's on the other side of town," or "I ain't got no money," I want the songs to have a very unique individuality in them, and they can, I guess you can say in a way, distance themselves from the stereotypical lyrical standpoint of the blues. Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it has that essential feel and power, and yet it's I don't know, mature might not be the right word, but modern might be what the term I'm looking for is. I mean, because Vibe With Me, you're never going to hear a song like that lyrically back in the 80s, but it works now because it's current.
Yeah, it's very current, and I tell it kind of has that, in a sense, "Let's Go Get Stoned" feel from Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Whereas even though he was talking about the hard drugs, in this sense, I'm talking about the green one,
right,
which I haven't heard of killing anybody just from natural intake of it. And I kind of tell people sometimes, I've never heard somebody say, "Oh, I shot a man in the face because I was high on marijuana." I've heard people say, "I'm hungry,"
right.
Or, "Man, I'm
Snack
sleepy."
run.
That's what I always hear. I don't never hear anything crazy. So,
right.
I think it doesn't get bad until people start putting, chemicals and stuff on it. But if you just got the regular, schmegular green stuff, you think you're gonna be all right.
Right. There's your disclaimer. Nobody's getting hurt here.
Yeah.
So, DK, tell me how you got started with the blues.
Well, I mean, the story goes that the first time I really paid attention to music was actually how I started talking. My grandfather gave my mother the CD Deuces Wild, which, of course, was a B.B. King record that came out, I want to say, in 98 or 99.
Yeah, with a lot of guest artists on it.
Yeah, a lot of guest artists. The Stones, D'Angelo, Heavy D. I think Dr. John is on there, Tracy Chapman.
Yeah.
And I think he went on to win a Grammy, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But he gave my mother this CD. And he said, "Crystal, if you play this CD for him while you're on your way to Shreveport, he'll be good." Now, my mother was kind of confused about this statement because my whole family thought I was going to be a mute. Here I was at around 2 years old, and I didn't talk. I didn't even cry. I didn't whine. I just mean mugged everybody. And if I wanted something to eat, I just went to the fridge, pointed at it, and grunted. So,
all right.
So people were concerned of my well-being. So she put me in the car seat and started her way to Shreveport, and she heard a little voice in the background singing, "The Thriller's Gone." And of course, back then you had CD players in cars. You know, you don't see them too much these days, depending on the year of the car. But she had a CD player, and she thought her CD player was going out of whack because she kept hearing, this high-pitched voice. And so she would turn it down and turn it back up. And so she said, well, let me turn it halfway and really, listen to see if it's coming from the speakers. And she just happened to look over her right shoulder, and there I was in my car seat, moving my head from side to side, seeing The Thriller's Gone, and she almost wrecked the car because she was so excited that I had started talking. So that's the first time I apparently heard the blues, and that's how I started talking.
Wow.
But the way she finishes the story is that's how he started talking, and now I can't get him to shut up.
That's hysterical. I heard that Einstein didn't start talking till he was 4. So I think it's a sign of genius the later you start talking.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say genius. I just call myself a late bloomer.
Okay, that works too. So, all right. So we got 2. How did you get from 2 to phenomenal vocalist guitar player?
Oh, wow. Well, that comes from, I wouldn't say phenomenal. I say I'm okay. But my singing really started in first grade. And for the life of me, I cannot remember this teacher's name to save my life. But she was an older black lady, probably in her 50s. And she was very kind. She kind of reminded me of a church grandmother in a sense, because she always wore, like a long dress that went to her ankles, and wore a nice business jacket, and had her hair. You can tell her hair had been in curlers the night before because all her hair was just curly. And she would have the music class sing all these songs. And I remember one of the songs being the Looney Tunes song. We had to learn how to sing for a program. And then, of course, we sung songs like Proud to Be an American and Into the Wild Blue Yonder, stuff like that for Veterans Day and Memorial Day programs. And that was the first time I actually heard jazz, and was in her classroom because she hipped us to Duke Ellington and played songs for us like, I think it's called Mood Indigo. And I remember her teaching us what the color indigo was and how it's such a unique blue. But to make a long story short, she started exposing us to a lot of different styles of music as singers. And we also had to do that thing where, you got to take a recorder to home and learn a song, and then you got to play it. A recorder being one of those little flutes.
Yeah.
You get them for like $10-15. You can get them at the local dollar store for like $1.
Right.
So we had to learn how to play songs on that. And I couldn't stand it. So I just kept on singing. And she respected that. And I remember her telling the principal, who was Miss Anderson at the time, she said, DK has to be one of the most charismatic students in my class. He's so into the music and the history of it, and et cetera. And at that time, that's when YouTube became more popular. It was a sensation for the internet. So I would go home after school and get on the computer that we had in my mom's bedroom. And I would, be listening to Duke Ellington's It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing.
Yeah.
Here I was at, roughly 6 years old listening to this stuff. And, my peers thought I was an alien, man, because I wasn't listening to blues. I mean, I wasn't listening to rap and hip hop and all of that. So they thought I was a strange one.
No Wiggles for you.
Yeah, no Wiggles for me. It was all Ray Charles and Eddie Floyd and Lloyd Price and Billy Preston.
Man.
Yeah, I was listening to some stuff, man. And then I think when I turned the age of about 10 or 11, we were in church one Sunday, and I was just singing. I think I was singing like a blues song to myself or something of that nature on church ground, Lord forgive me. And I really forgot what I was saying, but I remember Miss Ellen Hall, who was Pastor James Hall's wife, who was also over the choir at Spring Hill Missionary Baptist Church. And she said, DK, you got a pretty unique voice there. You want to sing in the choir? And I said, sure. I said, I sing in the choir at school, so I can do that. So the next thing you know, I'm in the youth choir and we sang a few songs, and she goes, DK, I've been listening to you sing, in the choir, and I want you to lead a song. So the first song that I led in church was How Great Is Our God with the pastor's son. And we would knock them dead in the church with that song. It's something about young people singing gospel that make the older folks go crazy. And it kind of reminds you of that juke joint, blues club feeling when people get excited hearing a song because they start hooping and hollering and waving their hands. And then there was a time where, and I remember we had to wear black and white. The kids always wore white shirt, black bottoms in the church choir. And by the time I was 12, she said, well, DK, I got to be honest with you. Your voice is very strong. And I'm thinking she's about to tell me something bad. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you sing in the youth choir and the adult choir.
Wow.
So at 12 years old, I was singing in the youth choir and the adult choir at my church. Now, still I'm singing in choir at school. By the time I got to high school, I want to say by my sophomore year, so right around the time I was 15, 16, my choir teacher at the time, Mr. Tronha, had me singing parts of tenor 2, baritone 1, and bass 2. So I was singing 3 different parts with the men's choir in high school. And I was very dedicated to that because I ended up becoming choir vice president and then choir president. And then I got a trophy for 4 years of being in choir in high school. Then I got another trophy for being a dedicated, student. And then I got another trophy for being a great entertainer within the choir. So I guess I consider myself an okay singer or a decent singer. But I do take a lot more pride in my voice than I do my playing. And I tell people all the time, I don't want to be a guitar hero. I want to be known for having songs that sound good and make sense, and the songs are not overshadowed by a bunch of guitar. Not saying that, people tend to do that, but we've heard some songs where it's like, oh, they I can't remember the words of this song because the guitar solo is 2-3 minutes long, or the intro is, 2 or 3 minutes of guitar.
Sure.
So, that's the way I go on about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's see, when it comes to playing guitar, I first picked up guitar, I want to say about the age of 12 or 13.
Okay.
Now, what inspired me to play guitar, well, better yet, I'll tell you the juicy stuff. Guitar was not my first instrument.
Okay.
My first instrument.
Recorder.
No. Well, in a sense, yes, but no. The first instrument that I took serious, I'll put it like that, was blues harmonica.
Yeah, sure.
And that is because I saw the film Cadillac Records.
Ah, okay.
And I wanted so badly to play like Little Walter. But the thing I couldn't get the hang of was harmonica bending. I just couldn't understand all the tongue tricks you can do and things of that nature. So I just got kind of tired of it. And I was watching Blues Brothers one day, which I have been watching Blues Brothers since I was a little kid. And I really paid attention to John Lee Hooker playing Boom Boom on Maxwell Street. There's a scene where he's playing Boom Boom on Maxwell Street.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
Now, here's a piece of trivia for you for that scene. John Lee Hooker was not supposed to be in that movie.
Really?
The actual story is that when they started filming Blues Brothers, the original Maxwell Street artist was supposed to be Muddy Waters. But at the same time, Muddy Waters took sick and then passed away a few months after the movie was completed.
Wow.
So it was that's why if you look at the band that they have is actually the original Muddy Waters band at the time in 1983.
Oh my gosh, that is some deep trivia you got.
Yeah. That's true as ever.
Yeah,
because the drummer is Willie Big Eye Smith, who is Muddy's drummer. Then the guitarist is Luther Johnson, who is Muddy Waters' second guitarist. The pianist is Pine Top Perkins, and then you got Big Walter Horton on harmonica.
Okay.
Like this literally Muddy Waters' bass.
Right.
So anyway, seeing that scene with John Lee Hooker inspired me to play guitar. Now, I will be honest with you, Mr. Compton, I was not this child prodigy that was blessed by the gods and all that stuff.
Sure.
Because I did not know a thing about guitar tuning. I didn't know anything about what a chord was, none of that. Didn't even know what notes I was playing. So there I was with my Sensonic Pro Series guitar that my grandfather on my dad's side bought for me for Christmas. And that guitar came from a pawn shop and it was beat to hell, Mr. Compton. The input jack was coming out of the guitar. The pickups were loose. It was missing screws on it. It looks like a Fender Stratocaster. And it was sunburst. And my grandfather, bless his heart, he didn't know anything about guitars. So he brought me a bass amp for pencil electric guitar. So you have no idea what it's like playing an electric guitar through a bass amp.
You're reinventing the wheel there, it sounded like.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it, even though every note was a few octaves lower than what it should be.
Sure.
And then the second guitar I got was Walmart used to sell these guitars called First Act acoustic guitars.
I remember First Act. We got my daughter a First Act drum set when she was...
Yes.
It was like under $100 for a full drum kit.
That's what it was. Yes. Because those guitars, I remember like it was yesterday, those guitars were $60. I remember. And my mother bought one for me. And I was so excited to get it. I was so excited. So, started playing on that. Still, Mr. Compton, I sucked. I am self-aware enough to say that I stinky. So
How many years in are you at this point with guitar?
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I did not get in tune from the age of about 12 or 13 to the age of 17. That's when I was finally in tune, was 17.
Someone finally bought a tuner?
Well, what it was that we already knew I needed a tuner. And we could have bought me a tuner. The part that led to me not getting a tuner earlier is because, you know, when you're a preteen, you think you know everything. And I learned how to string a guitar one time. Like I just watched somebody do it one time. I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. But I didn't know that there was a certain amount of tension that had to be on it before it popped. Or for a certain, you know, key, because I didn't know anything about tuning. So I would literally walk, I can't make this up. I would walk roughly about 2-3 miles every other weekend with $20 in my pocket to pay for guitar strings. That was 2 to 3 miles going and 2 to 3 miles back. So roughly about 5-6 miles. I was walking to buy guitar strings just so I can pop them in the same day. Or should I say break them in the same day. And my mother was like, you know, she didn't know anything about guitar neither. So she was like, well, DK, maybe you need to just take your guitar to the guy at the pawn shop and let him, you know. And I'm like, no, I can do it myself, you know. Wow. And I took a break from guitar in 2014. So about the age of 15 to 17, I took a break from guitar and just left it alone. And then when I was 17, I said, you know, I'm gonna try this again. So I picked it up, bought a tuner, and the thing that taught me about tuning the guitar was B.B. King's Blues Masters.
Oh, okay.
So B.B. King did this kind of masterclass type of video. And I think it came in 2 or 3 parts, and it came out like in the 90s. But I found it on DVD, and it's like roughly 3 hours of him teaching, you know, what he learned on guitar and his band performing as well. And this is where I learned, you know, E, B, G, D, A, E, you know, the standard tuning of guitar. And so, you know, learned that. And then I learned that, you know, if you got your E string, you know, either E string, the low or the high E string, if you know all the notes on that string, then you can play in any key. And that's what I learned from BB, and that's literally what I've been using to this day to teach myself guitar.
If you only got to learn from one person, that's a pretty good one to learn from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go into his vibrato technique on that video too?
Yes, it does. It does teach his vibrato.
Oh my gosh. No one shook his fingers like BB.
No, no one did. BB was a one of a kind.
Yeah. You know, I was watching a concert video of yours. You were playing at a festival, and, you know, you got the horn section. You got kind of like, I think your keyboard player is acting like kind of an MC. And it has a real feel of like the way BB and his band, he had like a big band with a horn section, and it was the blues, but it was more. It was like an entertainment review. And I get a feel from your live setup that you're tracking along with BB with that stuff.
Well, yes. There's really 3 people that I credit for the way I put on a show. Or really there's 5 people that I credit. The first one being BB, second one being James Brown, the third being Sam Cooke, the fourth being Wilson Pickett, and the fifth being the fifth being Freddie King.
Mm.
And then if I had to put a sixth in there, Buddy Guy as well.
Yeah.
What I took from James Brown and B.B. King was that if you look at their earlier videos, like you look at James Brown live at in Beverly Hills, California with B.B., he had his horn section to the right. B.B. always had his horn section to the right.
Okay.
So I took that from them that, you know, have your horn section on the right, you know, organ on the left, you know, rhythm guitar or bass guitar on the back left side or right side, drummer dead center. And then I kind of, in a sense, do uniform. Sometimes you'll see a lot of videos of my guys either in all black, or they'll have on a nice shirt and black pants, or we do a white top and blue bottoms at times, because I may feel like wearing a blue suit with a white shirt, or some blue khakis and a white shirt.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because, I mean, I know some people may say, oh, that's just old school as ever. Well, in my opinion, a uniform kind of adds dignity to your show.
Yeah, I see that.
It kind of adds a hint of class, because it's like, oh, these guys are together. That's serious business, you know.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my keyboard player, like you stated, he does act as an MC. Because Orlando has a nice voice. Like, Orlando just has that announcer voice. And as quiet and to himself as he is, you wouldn't think that he has that in him. Because it took everything in us to make him start singing backing vocals.
Wow.
You know, so, you know, you watch videos of us doing like You're a Queen or what real men do. He doesn't, you know, he did not want to at first. And he had a decent singing voice, you know, just, you know. And after shows, he's had some ladies come up to him and, oh, you were so nice. I love the way you play and I love the way you sing, you know. And he's a shy guy, so all he do is just smile and, you know, tuck his head in his chest and grin. But he's a nice guy. He's doing it about 3 years now.
Very cool. Yeah, a little encouragement, you know, that's going to bring out more and more, you know.
Oh, yeah. He, like, the whole band is really, but the band I have now was my ideal band. This is what I wanted for a band setup. And I've just been very fortunate to have that. And I'm very grateful that I have them. And they're great musicians and they teach me a lot. And I teach them a lot.
That's how it should be. A little give and take.
Yeah.
So a part of your live show, you got kind of this signature move where you turn around and do the booty shake.
Yes.
Who's the influence for that move? Is that a Wilson Pickett thing? I can see Wilson do
it. It actually comes from Howlin' Wolf.
Okay.
Because I've read some stories and some books where they mention Howlin' Wolf's stage presence. And even Hubert Sumlin said it in a couple of interviews that Howlin', you know, was the type of guy, he would shake his butt and he didn't care. And if I'm not mistaken, Howlin' Wolf stood like 6'3", 6'4", maybe 250 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, he was a force. Like, he was just a big pillar of force. And I feel like to see somebody, you know, as gigantic as him get on stage, and even though he has this real serious, you know, look and everything, he gets on stage, he starts, you know, shaking and gyrating, and, you know, I'm like, that's kind of what I want to do. You know, I want to be that guy where you kind of look at me and go, oh, he's, you know, he just seems like a quiet guy. And then next thing you know, it's this firework going off on stage.
Right. You're the showman. You're flipping the switch and there you are.
And it's genuine, you know, it's not like, I will be honest with you, not every show is not to the T. I cannot be one of those artists who go, okay, I'm going to perform this song for this long, and then right here I'm going to say this, and then the next song I'm going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then do that. I'll have a set list, and whatever happens, happens.
Right.
And it's only keeping it genuine and real. And I feel like some artists or entertainers today, sometimes with their show, they kind of lack a humane side because they want it to be, 100% to the T.
Right. There's like lighting cues tied to specific moves, and not a lot of freedom to let the emotion go where it wants to go.
Exactly. And that's really what I try to make a lot of room for on stage is that, emotion is welcome. You will see the human side of DK Harrell on this stage. And sometimes, if not all the time when we perform Get These Blues, the way I set up the song is by, in a sense, assuring and reassuring the audience that musicians are not just entertainers, that we're human beings as well, and that we feel. We go through things just like the average man. And that it takes a lot for a musician who genuinely cares about what they do and what they put into the music to express themselves through their music to a room or a field full of strangers. And they have to trust these strangers to accept how they feel. And I feel like that's a very bold move, a very brave move for any artist that genuinely puts their feelings and emotions into their music.
Yeah, you're up there, you're letting it all hang out, and the audience can you never know what you're going to get back. So it is brave to be up there on a stage. I hear you 100%.
It's a very unique situation, and I take it in stride, and I try to utilize it well, and make it all a safe place, if that makes sense for everybody. And I've noticed that with being so open and personal with the audience, that they enjoy that a lot. Because it's like, man, I can talk to this guy. I can touch him. He lets me hug him. Things of that nature. And that's what I want. I want people to understand that I am human. I'm not some, serious all the time, reserved person.
Yeah, and I think people need that, especially in the world today. Like a place to just let emotion hang out and safe at the same time, and there are a million worries that the world will have for you when you get back, but when you're at a DK Harrell show, man, have fun and be real.
Yeah, that's really all we're about, is having fun and being. And we've had some performances where we probably messed up some things, and it discouraged us. And what we've done as a band is that we've met as a group, and we addressed whatever went wrong. And then we come to the conclusion of, hey, bro, you're human. It's okay. You're human. You made a mistake. These tend to happen. Nobody's going to get fired. Nobody's going to get screamed at. Nobody's going to get cursed out. It's okay. You messed up, on a song that we played 1 million times. It's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we're all individuals, and that band member may not tell you what they're going through. They could be really stressed out, performing their show, and you may never know it. And they're trying to put it into their music, but they're so stressed and frustrated that, it's a challenge. So I'm always trying to be very understanding, even with my own band.
Yeah. Have you heard that Herbie Hancock story when he started playing with Miles Davis? And he's on the keyboard, and he's very nervous because Miles, he's just starting out with Miles, and he hits a wrong note, and he's like, uh-oh. And he looks over and he sees Miles, and Miles stops.
Oh, yeah.
Miles noticed it too. But then within a second, Miles adjusted what he was playing to fit the wrong note that Herbie hit to make it a right note.
Yes. I have seen this story and I've heard it. Yes.
Oh man, it sounds like kind of like the relationship you got with your band that, it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's been times where, it's not very often, so I don't want to sound like it just happens all the time. But there are times where we've been performing a song and, the bass player may hit a bad note or I'll hit a bad note. And, I hear everything. The band always tells me that I have good ears. And we'll be on stage and I'll turn around and look at the bass player and kind of smirk like, what was that? And he'll probably mouth to me, I'm sorry, or he'll just shake his head. And, somebody will be playing a solo and I'll walk over to him and I'll go, it's okay, bro. It's fine. Or I hit a bad note, singing wise or playing wise, and I just bust out laughing. I've had worse things happen. I've had suspenders pop and almost lost my pants on stage.
Wardrobe malfunctions?
Oh yeah, I've had wardrobe malfunctions multiple times. And it's only because when you go overseas, you do a lot of walking and all this stuff. And if you're out there for a month, you tend to lose weight and then your clothes are not fitting the way they used to. And, you got to tighten your belt up or you got to make an extra hole, in your belt.
Sure. It's a good problem to have in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of a good problem. And I went from 410 pounds to 380 from, being on the road and stuff and being busy, and I'm fine with it. But yeah, man, we're literally human and we're all on borrowed time, and the thing is, we don't know how much time we have exactly. And we just have to use it wisely and be grateful for the things that happen, good or bad.
Yeah. These are a few of life's lessons, right?
Sure.
Calling back to the album there. Hey, you know what? You're talking about Europe. You just got back from a European tour, and I'm wondering, how do you compare the European audience to the American audience?
I've been saying this a lot within the past couple of weeks, and I really don't mean it on a disrespectful basis. A lot of times when we go to Europe, the appreciation for the blues goes beyond the music. We have had so many audience members and so many fans come to us before a show or after the show, and they started talking about the history of the blues that a lot of Americans don't know. Because there have been times where I've been talking to American fans and I've mentioned legendary bluesmen, and they go, well, who is that? So I tell people that to an extent, and depending on where you are and depending on the people, that from our experiences overseas, that it seems that the Europeans have a deeper cultural connection to the blues than the United States audiences. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing.
Right.
I think what it is that the European societies, the communities, tend to expose their youth and even their elders to the blues a lot more than how the United States exposes the blues to the majority. If you think about it, a lot of schools have done away with music programs.
Yeah.
But if you go overseas, I can count on hands, toes, and probably the hairs on my head how many, academies of music we've seen or heard of from everywhere from Spain all the way to Norway, of just different music programs for the young people. And we've been meeting children, as young as 10, 11 years old, who come up and, oh man, I love me some Elmore James. And I'm just like, this kid is 10 years old. This is something that you don't hear in the States.
Right. Wow.
You ask a 10-year-old now who they enjoy, And they're going to say, oh, well, I really like Cardi B, you know. You'll just hear something, you know, more common in the States than, you know, old school. So it's a very big difference. But I will say this. We've done shows in the United States, and we've had young people come up to us and go, you know, I've never really liked the blues, or I always thought the blues was boring, but you guys make it fun.
Nice. That's got to be rewarding to hear.
Oh, man, it's one of the most beautiful things to hear, honestly. It makes me feel good because that's how I really know I'm doing my job right. If I can get my peers or even younger people than I to go, man, you know, I never liked the blues, but when I listen to you, I like it. I dig it. That makes me feel good.
Yeah. What do you think it is about what you're doing with the blues that's different than what a lot of people have seen?
Well, I think of course, the obvious reason is that I'm young. You know, I'm youthful for now. I'm 27, but of course, that's the obvious reason. But I think what also makes what we do on the bandstand unique is that we bring a lot of energy to the blues. And it's not just, you know, me playing a million notes on guitar. You know, everybody in the band plays this unique part. And, you know, I may stop soloing and want to let Orlando solo on the organ. Or I may let the drummer have some, or I may let the sax player, the trumpet player have some. And I feel like when they see that diversity of instrumentation on stage, it makes it different than just having a guitarist who is pretty much the spotlight of the whole show, if that makes sense. And I tell people all the time, you know, even though my name may say DK Harrell on the marquee, you're getting a DK Harrell Blues Band show. Because it's more than just me on that stage. And I don't see my guys as, they're just backing me up. You know, they just play their part and that's it. It's like, no, they're going to be just as a part of this show as I am as the front man. So I feel like with the energy that we bring, and like I stated, the obviousness of me being young, it makes them kind of go, I wonder what's going on here. Let me check this out. And they check it out, and about 9 times out of 10, we make believers out of them.
Yeah. Amen. So what do you think the future holds for the blues? I mean, are you encouraged? Do you see any other contemporaries that are peers that are also carrying the message of the blues?
Well, I mean, there's a whole gang of us, man. We got, I can list them all for you. Only because I like to give credit where credit is due, and they need acknowledging. You got Marquise Knox, Jontavius Willis, Stephen Hull, Jemiah Hobson, Sean McDonald, Dylan Triplett, David Julia, who was another young man playing blues. You got Gabe Stillman, who was playing blues, another young man. You got Jad Tariq, another young man who's been on the Memphis scene for a very long time and just released his record. You got Tony Holiday, who's a young man with a family that plays blues. Nikki Hill is still considered young. Vanessa Collier. So it's a really big
right
band of young people. The thing is the popular society acknowledging these young people who are doing the blues. Harrell Davenport. So I've roughly named about 10 people right there, if that. And I'm sure there's a lot more of these young people doing the blues that just need to need to be seen and get acknowledged. And they're happening, trust me, because you go to Clarksdale, Mississippi, they have a lot of young people playing the blues. And I met a young man in Chicago a couple of months ago, and I want to say he's 14 years old, named Nico. And he's inspired by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert King and others. And we met at Chicago Blues Festival. And he had originally wanted to meet Kingfish. And Kingfish was sadly busy at the time. So, and I didn't know what Kingfish's schedule was for the next day, if I'm not mistaken. So I told the young man and his mother, I said, hey, we're doing a show at the Ramova Theater tomorrow night. Bring your son and have him bring his guitar and he can sit in with us. And so here was this young man, 14 years old, in a nice little suit, because I told him that I was going to be wearing a suit. And he put on a suit and he brought his guitar and we let him sit in. And he played Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan, and people enjoyed it. And then still to this day, me and that young man correspond with each other, and I check on him. I speak to his mother, check on her. So I think the future is in very good hands. And I don't believe that the blues is dead, and I don't believe that the blues is on life support. What it is that the blues has always been walking around the street, but nobody has been saying hello to it.
Mm. Well said. Yeah, that's encouraging. What you're describing, and you're like, even though you're young, you're paying it forward in a way. 27 to a 14-year-old. It's all good. It's making for an environment for the blues to thrive.
Oh, yes.
I remember when I think back in the day, even Stevie Ray was like a snot-nosed little kid on the side of the stage at Antone's, and Albert King would be playing, and Stevie would be, let me sit in. It goes back. And what you're talking about goes way, way back.
I mean, it's a never-ending cycle, man. Even when my time comes years from now, there's always going to be somebody else, or I put it like this, there's always going to be another group of young people keeping this style of music alive. I played recently in Norway with a 19-year-old named Otto Jr., and he has 19.5 thousand followers on Instagram, and the young man can play. And he asked to sit in. I said, yeah, and I enjoyed his playing so much. I had him sit in for two songs. So it's young people out there doing it. Like I said, that just the society and the businesses need to acknowledge them, put them in the spotlight. But also at the same time, the business does not need to dim the light of those who came before us, like Super Chicken and Bobby Rush and Buddy Guy. Keep those guys working just as much or just as hard as the young people in this business.
Oh my gosh, I love Super Chicken with his cigar box guitars.
It's
so cool.
He's a cool guy to talk to. So much about the business. He's been. He's gone through the blues, man. Like, he's had some hardships. And as we were talking in Norway, it broke my heart to hear his story. And I told him, I said, well, as long as I got breath in my body, I'm always acknowledge him for the work that he paid for the younger generations to be here.
Nice. I mean, is hardship a part of earning the stripes as a blues man? Or is that a cliche?
I mean, I tell people the blues is life. I mean, so even if you take a country song, a pop song, even a rap song, it's all telling some story of something that possibly could be either, like my grandfather used to say, 100% truth or 100% bullcrap. So it depends on the individual, but I don't really feel like it's a cliche. I just feel like it's just a part of life, Yeah, you have those who come into this world and they have very wealthy families and they don't, financially struggle. But I'm sure they struggle with something like self-confidence, or they struggle with relationships, or they struggle with personal issues, health issues, things of that nature. So I feel like hardships come in different, different stages and different areas and different levels. And it all depends on how that person handles them. And I feel like with the blues, what makes the blues so appreciative when it comes to the hardships is that it's like Ruth Brown said, the blues was the only style of music at one time where a man could cry and people would respect him because he's talking about his troubles. Again, which is all a bold and courageous thing for anybody to do. So I don't think the hardships are a cliche. I just think the hardships have been so associated with blues that people go, oh, well, if you have the blues, it's sad. If you have the blues, it's hard. And it's like, well, no. It's like BB said, if I talk about I got a sweet little angel and all the other way she spread her wings, that don't sound sad to me.
Right.
That don't sound like a hardship, so.
Right. It's not stuck wallowing in tears by any means.
Oh, no, far from it.
I think hardship can give you an appreciation for empathy in other people around you. And I think the blues draws people in, and it's so inclusive. And I think a benefit of a hardship or a struggle in life is that it makes you appreciate a journey and making it with other people.
Yes, I do agree to that because, like I said, even when I'm on the stage, I make it as personable as possible. Which I've had some other artists actually tell me that it's bad that I'm so, honest and open, with the audience. But I feel like, if you really love what you do, then it shouldn't hurt to be your honest and genuine self to these people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of the things I really connect with your music is that I can tell you're very upfront and honest, and this is who you are. And that's like welcoming it. And it draws the listener in, and it's a place you want to be.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, my manager has asked me, he asked me one time, he said, when you get on stage and you instantly start smiling, is that an act? And I said, no. I said, it's not an act because I generally love doing what I do. And I don't see it as work. And I never have a day where I go, oh man, we got to catch another plane because we got to do this show. Oh man, we got to be in this van for 3 hours to go to this place. Oh man, I've never done that. You can ask the band. My band will tell you, that boy don't never complain if we got a flight at 5 o'clock in the morning. He is as jittery as a lightning bug.
That's
fantastic.
Because,
and this is what I love to do.
Yeah, that's excellent. You have an appreciation for it.
Oh, I do. And I've talked to other musicians, around my age or a little older, and they say, oh man, I'm tired, and sometimes I don't want to do this because it tires me out, or sometimes I don't want to. And I just look at them, I'm just like, bro, if you don't love doing what you're doing, then let it go. That's torture if you just, stand just to stay. Go be somewhere where you're happy. And I feel like with this, I'm never going to stop being happy about what I do. Because those people light up and, still just having another chance of life every day to do what I do is enough. So in my eyes, it's like, what more could I ask for?
There you go. The truth, man. You're speaking the truth. So DK, this is probably a good time to start wrapping things up. I love this conversation. I love your honesty and your attitude towards life. So if listeners out there want to catch up with what you got going on, where should people look to find you?
Of course, you can always find me, yours truly, DK Harrell, on Instagram, which is DKBlues_. And if you do send me a message, I will reply to you. You can also find me on Facebook, DK Harrell. That is also ran by yours truly. And you can go to my website, dkblues.com. And if you send a message there, all personal messages do come to me, and they're all answered by me. Because, like I always say, it's the people that make us musicians who we are. So that's how you can find me.
Keeping it real. All right. Well, the new record is Talkin Heavy. It's out now. Are you going back on the road now that you're back from Europe? Are you going back on the road in the U.S.?
Yes, sir. Next week we actually start a East Coast tour where we will hit Columbus, Ohio, Lima, New York. We will also hit Norwich, New York, the White Mountain Boogie and Blues Festival in Thornton, New Hampshire. We hit the famous The Iridium in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Where Les Paul used to play. We also will be playing the Hamilton in Washington, D.C., Tin Pan in Richmond, Virginia, the Mark Zenow series in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is called Sunset Sounds. And then we will also be hitting Tacoma, Washington, which I know is on the northwest. We'll be hitting Tacoma, Washington as well later on this month.
Oh, man, you're all over the place. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if anyone's keeping the blues alive, DK, it's you, man. You're doing your part. That's for sure.
And I'll keep doing it, trust me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, DK. We'll wrap it up here. This is Tom Compton with Pursuing the Muse, and we'll check in again down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Compton.
You bet.